My Queen most gracious, my hope that they would talk us, who rescuest the perishing and receivest the orphan, and intercedest for the stranger. O joy of the sorrowing, protectress of the offended, thou beholdest my misery, thou beholdest my sorrow. Do thou help me, for I am helpless. Harbor me, for I am a stranger. Mine injuries thou knowest. Do thou free me from them as thou willest. For I have no other help but thee, nor other intercessor, nor gracious comforter, apart from thee, O Theotokos, to preserve and protect me unto ages of ages. Amen.
Good evening, dear brothers and sisters. Good evening, our friends and viewers. Welcome to Pastoral Talks, one-on-one with everyone, from the Holy Virgin Mary Russian Orthodox Cathedral in Los Angeles. The topic of today's presentation will be the life of Saint Innocent, Metropolitan of Moscow, Apostle to Alaska. But before I start my presentation, I want to invite everybody who is watching us to actively participate, and because we are la.org, rector at hvmla.org, or just simply send a note on a YouTube channel, and Father Deacon, who is sitting behind the computer and doing miracles so we can talk to each other, he will pass it to me so I can reply. You can also ask questions of any other topics not pertaining to presentation that we are going to make today, and also you can suggest topics for future presentations. Thank you very much. Just also before we go further, the question was, I was asked, where is Mimi? Mimi is fine. She had one kittens, and she's busy being a mother to this kitten. He is already big and playing, but you know, for now I kind of not going to bring her for this program for a couple more weeks, so she can kind of get completely recovered from all of this turmoils in her cat life. But she's fine, and thank you for asking. So Saint Innocent. Saint Innocent was born in on the August 26th of 1797. He was born into the family of a church server, or you know, his father was serving, helping in an altar in a village of Anginskaya of district of province of Irkutsk in Russia. His father unfortunately died when John, that was the secular name of Saint Innocent, and his last name was Popov Veniaminov, and his dad's name was Yevsevy, so he was Ivan Yevsevyevich Popov Veniaminov. So his father died when John was only 6 years of age, so for all these years, John was the boy that lived without father, but was loved by his mother, and was a church person, believing person. And in 1807, he entered into the Irkutsk Theological Seminary. Upon graduating the seminary, and in a few years after that, in 1817, he got married, and on May 18 of the same year of 1817, he was ordained to be a deacon of the Church of the Annunciation in the city of Irkutsk. He completed his studies in 1818 and was appointed as a teacher to the parish school. And in 1821, after 3 years or almost 4 years of serving as a deacon, he was ordained to holy priesthood in the same Church of Annunciation. In the beginning of 1823, the ruling bishop of the Diocese of Irkutsk, Michael, received the instruction from the Holy Synod of the Russian Church to look for the candidates to be a clergy in the Aleutian Islands and Unalaska in Alaska. At that time, Russian Alaska. Father John Veniaminov volunteered to go, and on in May of same year, 1823, he and his family departed for Alaska. I mean, with his family, I mean not only his wife, but his infant son, whose name was Innocent, and his elderly mother. and his brother Stefan as well. So after journey to Alaska, you wouldn't believe it took a whole year those days to travel to Unalaska. They arrived at Unalaska on July 29 of 1824. One would think that everything would be prepared for the priest, as now commonly done in the parishes. For example, when I came here, I remember the parish council was trying to make it as comfortable as possible for the family of the new priest. They made the repairs to the existing apartment, painted walls, started planting a garden on the front, and so on and so forth. Didn't happen those days. So you can imagine that after 1 year of difficult journey, Father John and his family had to build and move into the earthen hut, so in Russian землянка. He undertook right away the project to construct a Holy Assumption Church in the island and set about studying the local languages and dialects of tribes of Alaska. He trained some of his parishioners in different construction techniques that he acquired through his life, living as a boy without a father and taking the charge of family day-to-day affairs. And he was sharing those techniques with the native population, and with them he undertook the construction of a church which was finished the following year in July. Father John's parish included the island of Unalaska and neighboring Fox Islands and what they called Pribilov Islands, whose inhabitants had been converted to Christianity before his arrival, but retained many pre-Christian ways and customs. Father John offered them, well, first of all, he Christianized lots of these customs for them, putting a new Christian meaning into them, but also explaining to them for destructive habits and customs and meaning of of some of them, how it's destructive spiritually for people that is already Christian and know the true God, but yet keeping to the old ways. Father John often traveled because he traveled not on a comfortable car, not even on horses, but traveled between the islands in canoe. And you can imagine, if you look at our ocean here in Los Angeles, that Gulf of Alaska is something similar but colder, and this waters, deep waters and rough waters, are not very easy to travel on. So, but he did travel in between his parishes, also studying the different languages and dialects of the tribes. So eventually he can create the alphabet for this people. His travels over the islands greatly enhanced Father John's familiarity with local dialects and languages. And as I said, in a short time, he mastered 6 of the dialects. He devised divide an alphabet of Cyrillic letters for the most widespread dialects, the Unagan dialect of Aleutians, and in the 1828 translated the Holy Gospel of Matthew and other church materials like catechism and some other introductions to Orthodox faith into this dialects, which were eventually published in 1840 with the blessing of the Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church. In 1829, Father John journeyed to the Bering Sea coast of the Alaskan mainland and preached to the people that inhabited that land. And in 1836, his travels even extended to the south, to the Ross colony north of San Francisco, and to the Spanish missions of Northern California. At Ross colony, he conducted services at its small wooden chapel that still exists to this day. In 1834, Father John was transferred to Sitka Island, to the town that at that time was known as Novoarkhangelsk and now known as Sitka. He devoted his life and talents to serve the Tlingit tribe people and studied their language again. He studied their language and their customs, and he became beloved pastor that loved his flock. He studied there, produced the scholarly works, notes on the Kulushchan and Kodiak tongues and other dialects of the Russo-American territories with a Russian Kulushchan glossary. Father John, who is now called the Apostle of Alaska, was recalled back to St. Petersburg and Moscow. So in 1838, he took a long journey to go back to Russia. He traveled to St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Kiev to report on his activities and request an expansion of the church's activities in Russian America. While he was there, he received a terrible news. He received the notice that his wife had died. He requested permission from the Holy Synod to return to Sitka. Instead, it was suggested that he be tonsured a monk and accept and take vows, monastic vows. At first, Father John ignored these suggestions, but finally, on November 29 of 1840, he made his decision, and with the blessing of the hierarchs, he became a monastic. He chose the name of Innocent in honor of Saint Innocent of Irkutsk. On December 15, 1840, shortly after his monastic tonsure and elevation to the rank of archimandrite, with the name of Innocent, he was consecrated a bishop of Kamchatka and Kuril Islands in Russia, and the Aleutian Islands in Russian America. His see was located in, or cathedral as we call it now, was located in Novoarkhangelsk, which is Sitka. And that cathedral still in Sitka to this day. He returned to Novoarkhangelsk or Sitka in 1841 in September. He spent the next 9 years in the administration of his diocese, as well as on the several long missionary journeys to its remote areas. On April 21, 1850, Bishop Innocent was elevated to the rank of Archbishop. And in 2 years, the Yakut area was admitted to the Kamchatka Diocese, and in September of 1853, Archbishop Innocent took up permanent residence in the town of Yakutsk. He took frequent trips to different parishes, and his diocese grew rapidly. New parishes were opened and many people were baptized into the Orthodox faith. Because of a catechism was available in their native tongues, many people were able to learn about Orthodox faith and discover the true spirituality, for which, according to their native beliefs, they were prepared with their pre-Christian spirituality for many years before. Bishop Tikhon, or Archbishop Tikhon, devoted much energy to translating of scriptures and service books into the Yakut Sakha language. In April of 1865, Archbishop Innocent was appointed a member of the Holy Governing Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church. Just to explain to you that this appointment was done by government, as at those days it was no patriarch in the Russian church, so church was governed by synod, and the head of the synod was a representative of the Tsar. So Father Innocent, or Archbishop Innocent, became a member of the Synod of Bishops under the rule in the Russian Empire. And a little longer than 10 years after, on November 1867, he was appointed by the Synod to be a Metropolitan of Moscow, replacing his beloved teacher, his good friend, who was also canonized and glorified as a saint, Metropolitan Filaret Drozdov. Metropolitan Filaret passed just shortly before that year, and he was mentor of Archbishop Innocent. While there, he undertook many other projects in the Russian Church. First of his and largest of his projects was a revision of many church texts that contained errors. He was also engaged in the fundraising to improve the living conditions of priests and established a retirement home for priests who were not able to serve their parishes anymore. He ruled as a Metropolitan of Moscow a little bit longer than 1 decade. He died on March 31st, 1879, and he was buried on April 5th, 1879 at Trinity Surge's Lavra in Moscow. Well, in Sergiev Posad. The Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church glorified Innocent Veniaminov, Metropolitan of Moscow and Kolomysk, on October 6, 1977. He was a remarkable preacher, and many works of his writing is available to us in English language. One of his common quotes is, "Whoever abides in faith and love can have mouth and wisdom, and the heart cannot resist their serving it." He began his apostolic service in Alaska. He ended as a metropolitan, as a simple parish priest. He ended his earthly journey as a metropolitan of Moscow. We glorify and we celebrate his memory on October 5th, and in the synaxes of Moscow hierarchs, and on October 5th with the synaxes of Moscow hierarchs, and on October 6th, the day of his glorification of the saints. So may, through the prayers of Saint Innocent, the apostle to Alaska, our labors here in North America be accepted by God, and many people will receive the true faith. But may all the clergy and the laity have the same love and zeal for Orthodox faith as he did. So, with this life of this remarkable saint, we will stop for now the series of lives of American saints, and then we will kind of look into other remaining saints that are still a few that we didn't talk about. But I want to talk a little bit about other things as we slowly soon we'll start our journey towards land, and well, we are on our journey, but we will soon also celebrate our parish feast day, and it will be already beginning of the Lenten Triodion. So I would really kind of like to undertake the more more pastoral talks, concentrate on a fasting and everything that is connected with the great Lent and celebration of Pascha. So, but I really ask you to help me with the topics, because it would be much more beneficial for you, and easier for me to really know what people are interested in. I see that Father Deacon passed a question.
Which deacon? You have 16.
Was it commonplace all across
Sorry,
Russia?
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you please repeat?
I'm sorry, my telephone is all of a sudden like acting up. Okay, was it commonplace all across Russia for priests to build their own churches on their frontiers? I guess it was a common. I mean, common. I mean, like, I don't really quite understand what that means on the frontiers. if you can elaborate a little bit on your I'm sorry. Okay. I mean, clergy commonly, I mean, were having their own dwelling in those days. Well, same as if you go to Russia, I mean, most of the clergy, they don't live as here we live in a church, on the church property. I mean, like, most of them build their own houses, and parish kind of help them to do that. But even to our days in North America, it was a different. Eventually, it was developed as a different tradition, and lots of parishes offering dwellings right now, but for clergy, but not in those days. But the fact is that if you remember our early presentations on the topic of missionary work, like St. Herman, when the missionaries were sent upon request of the governor of Alaska, the governor promised that everything will be ready for new missionaries, that church will be built, and they will have place to live. Also, the state or the synod, governing synod, took a kind of obligation upon itself to send chalices, icons, books, etc., 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 so missionary work can continue or began at that time. But none of that was done. So when missionaries arrived, they basically had to start from nothing and live for a while in this huts or that they kind of built for themselves quickly for winter, and summer in Alaska is not that long, so it was probably not very good quality buildings, so this was a hardship so that they had to go through. And I'm not even talking that if what kind of books and stuff that they had to bring with themselves, because it was nothing available. So as you see, Saint Innocent, it was nothing available. He had the books in Slavonic, but it's like for us who, I mean, in North America, it's like I would start church in Slavonic and expect that English people will come. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, like, well, that's why in our cathedral we do 50-50, and it was language-wise and preach in a different language. So there's necessity of preaching in a local tongue, and he had to learn a language. So to be successful missionary. So so is Saint Tikhon beforehand. So they had to be thine own of thine own. I mean, like, they had to become the people of this earth in order to preach the word of God to people that surround them. I hope I answer your question, but maybe if I didn't, please type it up and explain more. I want to look up because somebody sent me something. No. So basically, yeah, so next time we will be meeting on February 19th, right after Parish Feast Day on February 14th. So it will be Friday at 7 o'clock, and we will talk about Lenten topic and Gospels that and Sundays that are preceding the beginning of the Great Lent. So may God bless all of you. Please stay safe and healthy. Our service tomorrow at 5 o'clock, we will serve a vigil, and on Sunday at 10 o'clock, Divine Liturgy. God bless you all, and see you at one-on-one with everyone on February 19th.